Hi everybody, Bob Iacino along with my co-founder Mike Arnold from Path Trading Partners. Afternoon Path Chat covering the futures market for April 12th. You see a VIX chart on the screen right now. Mike is going to talk to you about the VIX. The VIX is rising, and wow, did we get several different supportive reasons for why the VIX is rising today. Let me just touch on the EIA crude inventories quickly because a couple of things came out of the EIA report today. First of all, crude oil stocks fell by 1.3 million barrels. Gasoline stocks fell by 3.7 million barrels. Those are both beats. Those are both higher drops than was expected. And then on top of that, the EIA bumped up their demand forecast, so the increase of demand. So a while back, the EIA put out that they think 2017's demand is going to be higher by X. I think it was about 217,000 barrels a day. They bumped that up by about 35 to 40,000. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, and it's not really that important. They also noted that refinery crude runs rose by 57,000 barrels a day. And that seemed to be what the market kind of took its cue from. Crude oil was a little bit lower, nothing really to speak of though. If refinery runs are ramping up, that means that gasoline stockpiles will be refilled and it will slow down the demand for crude oil. We are slowly working off that 32 million barrel excess. We're down below 31 million barrels now in terms of the excess versus this time last year. We also had several comments today. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson met with Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. They are not close to agreeing on anything. They continually stressed the distance between their two positions. There was really no positivity. There was sarcasm. Lavrov referenced that the U.S. and the West seem to be obsessed with removing dictators, and he went off to read a laundry list of countries that basically went to hell after the West removed a dictator, mentioning specifically Muammar Gaddafi with Libya, Saddam Hussein with Iraq. They went pretty far back. He actually was very sarcastic. He said that if you could point to one that worked out, he'd like to hear about it. He also said he's been presented with no evidence that Syria dropped the chemical attack. And Rex Tillerson said, we have convincing evidence that Syria dropped the chemical attack, to which Russia responded, we would love a full UN investigation. And then a little while later, Russia went ahead and vetoed the UN resolution, calling for condemnation and an investigation. So it is political masturbation, is what I'm going to call it. Donald Trump talked down the dollar, said the dollar was too strong, said he wasn't sure if Janet Yellen was going to get reappointed. He also said he loves low interest rates. And then there was some comments side by side with the president of NATO, but those don't really, they're not market moving. So let me turn it over to Mike. He has to cover everything, and we've got a lot to cover because there were major moves and everything. So Mike, I'm going to turn it over to you. It's all yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Bob. So you see we have the ramp up in the VIX closing at 15. What was the exact close? 1577, which we have not been at these levels since the run up to the election, which you see over here. Here's the run up to the election. Here's the election, and the collapse back down. So we shall keep an eye on the VIX, but that generally gets run up when there's fear and panic in the markets, and then it ups option premiums. So people will have to pay more, especially for protective puts. Let's get over to the transports. Very big move in the transports today. You see this big sell-off. For me, there's a critical line in the sand, 89.55. So we're going to be watching for that tomorrow. If we do break that to the downside, then we have the 89.19 to 89.00 level and a trend line coming in right there. And then if that's broken, it looks like we may resume a pretty good down move and test that 88.03. I'm giving some larger term levels because if we get some fast moving or big moves tomorrow, we'll keep an eye out for those. If we do rally up, we have resistance around 9,000 to 9,020 in that area. key resistance, one of them being a significant level. Then above that, we have 9064. Then we have 9121. Okay, here we have the Dow. Inside day on the Dow. We're testing the 50-period exponential moving average. Very key, this 20,550 level. If that's broken, watch for around the retest of the 20,518 to 20,520 level. And if that's broken to the downside, watching for 2412 to 2423. And then below that, 20,347. And if we were to get some really big substantial move, 20,237. To the upside, declining rotation zone now. So 20,647 to 20,685 is some decent resistance. And we still have this trend line here that we could possibly come back and hit. And then above that, the next level up is 20,723. Then above that, 20,750. Let's take a look at the S&P. Decent sell-off today, back down to the 50-period exponential and our significant level coming in right around 2337. If we do break below that, minor support at 2335, then we're looking at 2333. And then once that's broken, we're looking at a potential drop to 2319, 2318 to 2320 right in here where we have that critical swing low. And then if that's broken, 2307 to 2303 is the next levels down. On a rally back up, going to be watching for significant resistance 2352 to 2354. Then above that, 2358. Then a possible rally up to 2364 to 65 area. Finally, on the NASDAQ. NASDAQ looks like we might, if we head lower, get the first cross of our rotation zone. To the downside, looking for support at yesterday's lows, which come in at 53.58. If that's broken, we talked about this being a trend line trade tomorrow. If that's broken, then we'll be also watching for an extended move to 53.38 and then possibly dropping to 53.24. Then the next level below that is 53.16. On a rally back up, not much in terms of major resistance, right around 54.14. Then we have 54.26. Then the next key level is 54.47 above that. Switch over to crude. Crude oil broke just below the 12.5% GAN retracement levels based off today's highs and pulled back and found support at a path trend line. If it continues lower tomorrow, next level is 52.53, followed by 52.07, where we have a rising 8 EMA and a 25% GAN level. And then if that's broken, 51.68, followed by 51.23 area. On a rally, the 53.37 to 53.42 is going to be pretty strong overhead resistance. And then 53.76, and on a major rally, 54.24 to the upside. Over to metals. Copper finally broke out of this consolidation to the downside, closing pretty close to dead on again, level at 254.18. If it continues lower tomorrow, watch for 252.56, and then again, cluster extension and retracement cluster right around 250. On a rally, resistance 255.72, followed by 257.95, followed by the 258 levels. Gold continued higher, got through our next GAN cluster zone at 1283 to 1284, which we mentioned, and the trend line, and going to the next higher level at 1293. If we get above 1293, we're looking at the gap fill over here, the gaps that's been left around since the election. So the target for that would be 1305. You may see some minor resistance right around 1300, but then that would be 1305. If we pull back, this 1283 and 4 is going to be key support. And if that's broken, we're then looking all the way possibly down to 1276 and then the prior 1273 area. Over to silver. Silver's moved up beyond the prior swing high. We talked about the 1850 area. We have a lot of resistance in here, the 1853 to 1858 area, which you couldn't get through today. If it does get above that, we're looking to 1870, followed by 1890, followed by $19. On a pullback, going to be minor support right around the 1842, then more significant support right around 1838 to 1828. Then if that's broken, we have today's lows, which come in 1824, which are the same as the rising 8 EMA. That's all we have for you. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Bob.
Thanks, Mike. Again, the geopolitical headlines are coming almost too fast to keep up with. The VIX is telling you that it's getting to a level of real. So we're going to see a lot of FX moves tomorrow as well, or overnight rather. So check out our AM Path Chat tomorrow covering FX. And if there's anything to cover in individual stocks, we'll take care of that as well then. Cheers, everyone. Thanks for watching.